So hi everyone. Today's unit is Unit 13, Equality and Diversity, and we're going to be doing the assignment discussion today. But what I want to look at first is give you a summary of what we've done in the last five learning outcomes, and then we can go on to the assignment discussion. It's going to be quite a quick summary of what we've done in each learning outcome, so then we can just go through the assignment discussion and apply it to your scenario. Apply it to your learning outcomes. Okay. So the first learning
Sounds good
outcome
to
we
me.
did. Yeah, sorry.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent, excellent. Is that okay with you, Adrian, as well?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Excellent. It's just so it's refreshed in your head. At least, you can apply the tasks we do to the learning outcomes. But it's quite clear that I've kind of prepared the assignment to kind of help you a little bit and put your learning outcomes at the bottom that you kind of know as well. So the first one is to understand the key features of a culture, which promotes equality and diversity. And we went on to look at the importance of the Equality and Diversity the Equality Act 2010, and what it's there for in regards to any sort of preventing any sort of discrimination or anything in regards to protected characteristics. We then went on to look at the protected characteristics as well. So people that are married, disabled people, women that are pregnant, race, including nationality, ethnic origin, religious beliefs, sexual orientation and sex. And that's quite a big area that's been protected within the Equality Act 2010. We looked at the fact that you can be protected at work. In education, we shouldn't discriminate against anyone who has any sort of disability or who's come back to studying at an older age and things like that, mature students, because some forms of discrimination do occur because people, the younger generation, tend to feel like that it's okay for us to come back at 18, 19, and then if someone, I used to have a student who was 82.
Wow.
And I remember me telling you before, and that student came back to education because her husband was at the university up the road doing the PhD, and she wanted to do something that she's always wanted to do, law. So yeah, she actually came back, and every year I'd ring her because I was worried. I'd always be really worried if she's going to come back. But she did. She graduated. It was really nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I don't think you're ever that old anyway. As long as, you're capable of doing things, we shouldn't really discriminate against anyone. And again, we looked at the legal requirements of discrimination under the Act and, why its legislation is in place to protect people from any forms of discrimination. We then looked at types of discrimination, so direct discrimination and indirect discrimination in learning outcome 1. We then went on to harassment, victimization, and why it's unlawful within a workplace or any sort of arrangement to discriminate or harass someone. We then looked at 1.1, which was to define the meanings of equality and diversity in the UK, and that is one part of your assignment as well, which we'll look at in regards to when we're doing the assignment area. So you cover one element of it in that. We then went to look at equality within the UK, what it's defined as, what's diversity defined as, and how does equality relate to your setting? So where you're working, give us some examples, celebrating cultural, religious celebrations, promoting inclusion, following codes of practice and codes of ethics. We then went on to 1.2, which was to analyse the benefits of promoting equality and diversity for individual learners. So codes of practice, keeping the place supportive, keeping a good learning environment for the individual, making sure that you aspire them, you are respectful and tolerant towards them as well. It's important to value different staff as well. So incorporating religious wear, prayer rooms, translators, also one-to-one interventions, really important. What the benefits of this, promoting inclusion, Learners and family members feel valued. Learners and family members are more involved, and it promotes a good sense of support. We then went on to look at defining legislation, employment regulations and codes of practice relevant to promote inequality and diversity. And they're really important because any laws are put in place to protect people, or to, you know, if there's any sort of need for the law to be put in place. And Equality Act there was a need for that to come into force because there were forms of discrimination happening both within the workplace and any other organisation. We looked at how it's implemented in the workplace, codes of practice. We looked at things like ethics. We looked at the Children's Act, the importance of Children's Act in regards to Every Child Matters programme and why that's used in the UK. And that doesn't just apply to schools and things. Every Child Matters applies if you go to court as well, family court. They refer to it as the best interest of the child. When you're going through a family or divorce proceedings, anything like that, the courts do look at it, and judges really take that into account. In this concept, it's every child matters, but within the concept of legally is the best outcome for the child, really. You know, they always take in the child into account because they always want the best interest for that child. So, you know, it happens legally as well. Every child matters look to be healthy, to be safe, to enjoy and achieve, and to achieve economic well-being. We also looked at healthy school meals, free school meals, visitors monitored, breakfast clubs, things like that. Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Act 2001, and what that was, the purpose of that was to try to prevent any sort of disability based on discrimination, or based on discrimination based on disability. How it was implemented, the Act. We also, you know, providing facilities for disabled people, things like shower rooms, changing facilities. Then we went on to look at concluding in regards and some references there. We're going to move on to learning outcome 2 now. So I'm quickly going through so we've got a better idea, okay? So can you see learning outcome 2 now?
Yeah.
Excellent. So this was to understand the importance of promoting equality and diversity in lifelong learning, okay? And we looked at how can you use equality and diversity to promote learners from any form of risk of harm. So, you know, things like if you had to go into an organization, you must follow policies and rules and procedures. Why do you think policies and rules and procedures are so important within an organization when we talk about them?
Because they're there to protect you as staff and obviously the students we're working with.
It's not just the learner, is it? It's not just that they protect the learner, they protect you as well as an individual. Sorry, Adrian, what were you going to say?
No, nothing. I was just going to say that that it's, you know, also to just help maintain standards and procedures, so everyone's on the same page. Yeah,
and it works well, doesn't it? If you all work from the same hymn sheet, like they say, you all work at a better you know, your procedures and everything are implemented well. If you know, we used to have, I remember historically, we used to have lecturers at the college that wouldn't use IT systems. You know, they were so hesitant because they'd never use a computer. And, you know, it was, they were so reluctant, and it was so easy. And then a couple started adapting to it, you know, slowly. But a lot of them, and you'll be really surprised, they retired. Excuse me. They retired because they felt like they couldn't follow that, you know, structure. They could have had a little bit more time working there, but they still went quite early because they said that everything that was being implemented was too fast for them. So, you know, following policies and procedures and things is to make it better for you as well as staff members, and also a little bit more easier. Equality and diversity to promote learner from risk and harm. So we looked at the Prevention Education Act 2015, Human Rights Act 1998, and the Equality and Diversity Act 2010. 2.1, reflect on how the promotion of equality and diversity will protect learners from risk of harm. So we looked at the issue of, making racist remarks, making sexist remarks, any form of bullying, poor social skills, how you need to be accepted within the workplace, and following codes of conduct, Equality Act again. And we looked at how you would promote it in your own setting. We then went on to look at examples of it. So policies and procedures, things like prayer rooms, translators, dress code. These are how to implement it within your workplace. We looked at what control measures do you have in your setting. Examples of control measures, so one-way system on stairs to prevent any sort of accidents, first aiders, equipment locked away, equipment that could harm anyone, risk assessment, really important. So we then went on to look at 2.2, which was explain actions that can be taken to value individual learners. So it's essential that you treat learners with respect. Try to pronounce their name as you can, as correctly as possible. And looked at paying attention to students and being more approachable for them. We then went on to 2.3, which is explain good practice in providing individual learners with information. So, you need to know their learning needs. You need to identify that each learner has a different way of learning. They have a different skill. They have different lifestyles. You need to do initial and diagnostic assessments. We looked at the KWL chart, self-marking and peer marking. Good practice, speak to your learners about any sort of expectations and what their expectations, highlight what they may need from you. And finally, just try and get a plan together for the learners. We then went on from learning outcome 2, we went on to learning outcome 3, which was looking at, just 1 minute. So learning outcome 3, can you see that now as well?
I can see it.
Excellent.
Yep.
To promote equality and value diversity within an organisation or within a school setting. So how can we promote diversity and equality in education? Classroom environment, is so important to understand different people, different views they have. 3.1, use communication strategies to promote equality and diversity. And we looked at things like, handouts, use plain and simple language, pictures, charts, symbols, simple text as well for individuals. And sometimes, for individuals, font size does play a big role in students that have got dyslexia or dyscalculia, and visual impairment. Communication strategies for deaf or partially hearing students, so email, PowerPoints, handouts, using any sort of loop hearing and speaking clearly to them. Communications for visual impairments, one-to-one support, Braille worksheets, and any sort of softwares that will help them to enhance their teaching and learning as well. We also looked at communication strategies for learners with dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dyspraxia. And how they would learn differently and what we need to provide for them. We looked at communication strategies for English as an additional language, because things like welcome, read and write, one-to-one sessions, PECS, which is picture exchange system, translators, symbols, charts. And I feel like sometimes when people that English is an additional language, sometimes it's quite difficult to make them understand. So it's really hard that you need to give them extra support, I think, more than anyone else. Communicating with colleagues as well, making sure that, you maintain a professional and friendly relationship between them. Also, it's also important to maintain respect and demonstrate behaviour, such as special needs, medical or behavioural issues. And then, looking at, discussing a learner's needs as well, make sure it's appropriate and, in a professional attitude. We then went on to look at 3.2, which was to analyse how our own behaviour can impact on organisations' culture in relation to equality and diversity. And we looked at the code of conduct, the dress code. You know, it's really important that your behaviour and the way you dress is acceptable, because, you know, sometimes you'll have teachers out there that would think that the dress code is, you know, acceptable, but sometimes it's not, especially in an environment where you're working with young teenagers. Acting as a role model, looking out for well-being of staff and learners, promoting advocacy for learners, personal appearance in and out of school, ensure you're dressed appropriately, your hair is neat. I mean, sometimes out of work, I'm walking with my pajamas, so yeah. If I can't be bothered if I'm laying in bed. So sometimes, you know, you have to, as long as you don't see your students whilst you're shopping in Asda's or something. Analyze how your own behaviour can impact on organisation's culture. What do you do? How do you behave? How do you portray yourself? So, you know, how do you promote any sort of advocacy, behaviour, well-being? There are many external agencies that work within the organisations and within education organisations, social services, community nurses, dentists, GPs, police, educational psychologists, speech and language therapists. Especially if you're working with people with the disabilities, you will have a lot more involvement with the external organisations. So you look at specialists such as nurses, speech therapists, to ensure that the best access is available for the students, to support them fully. Students with more involved in learning and access. External agencies help the teaching staff as well, make them understand and also have an insight on how to deal with these students. Behavioural management, support, advice, training for staff. Sign language and Braille to support the learner. The support also enables trainers to create constant level of support for that individual, and also identifying different agencies we worked with. So that was a quick one for learning outcome 3. Now learning outcome 4, which was to look at understanding how to help others in the promotion of equality and valuing of diversity. We looked at 4.1, which describe actions by individuals which can undermine equality and diversity. What actions can undermine equality and diversity? So things like stereotyping, bullying, harassment, not being inclusive, ignoring the learner's needs, and direct and indirect discrimination. We looked at what direct discrimination was and indirect discrimination was under the Equality Act 2010. We also looked at examples of direct discrimination and indirect discrimination, and how direct discrimination can be based on your age, disability, gender. Indirect could be on your hairstyle, your headwear, your jewelry, you know, your headscarf, things like that. We also looked at a stereotype image, what it actually means and why we stereotype people. We then went on to the issue of bullying and harassment. And we looked at not being inclusive and ignoring learners' needs. We then went on to look at 4.2, which was recommend modifications to the system and structures which do not promote equality and diversity. And we looked at challenging negative attitudes among students, avoiding stereotypes in curricular resources and examples, and setting clear rules regarding how people should be treated from the start rather than later on. We also identified treating all students and staff equally and fairly, creating an all-inclusive environment for students and staff, challenge bullying and harassment, and ensure that policies reflect the needs of the organisation. We gave examples of this as well. And then, you know, we looked at what actions and modifications need to be dealt with to promote equality and diversity. We then went on to learning outcome 5, which I'll just go on. Just give me a minute. Can you see learning outcome 5 there?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing that, and then I think I have to share it again. Just give me, because I think so. This was the final one, and here we looked at being able to review your own contribution for promoting equality and diversity in lifelong learning, and this is your own experience and your own work within your own setting. So we looked at promoting equality, diversity and inclusion within the classroom and how it impacts on effective teaching, but it also is a key element of Ofsted education inspection framework and why it's so important to look at the quality of education. We looked at reflecting on your own strengths, 5.1, in promoting equality and valuing diversity. So here, talk about your own experiences and your own issue, if there's any sort of strengths in promoting it. So we looked at what equality was. We had a diagram there which identified the different types of forms with the apples in regards to equality. We then went on to look at equality in the classroom, how everyone should be treated fairly, different learning styles, delivering things differently for different learners. We then went on to look at how behaviour should be managed in the classroom, but also promoting diversity and inclusion in regards to resources and not tolerating any sort of discrimination. We then went on to look at diversity in the classroom, importance of recognising different students, and to monitor student progress. We then went on to 5.2, which was to evaluate the impact of your own practice in promoting equality and diversity. And we looked at allowing children of different abilities to work at different levels, because not everyone works at one level. We looked at engaging learners, emphasising the value of social interaction, and offer opportunities to apply to their learning. We also then went on to 5.3, which was to identify areas for further personal development in promoting equality and valuing diversity. We looked at training development needs, professional development, learning walks, for example. We also looked at workshops on equality and diversity, providing learning programs on equality and diversity, and make sure the organisation has an equality and diversity policy in place. Self-reflection is always really important, and to promote cultural events. We also looked at making sure that all staff and students are treated equally and fairly and no forms of discrimination. We then went on to look at an example of the SWOT analysis. And we looked at your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And in regards to your own practice, when you look at your own, in your own practice, you could identify these strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. We then went on to look at what SWOT analysis is, looking at internal and external factors. What are you good at, what you're not so good at, what you can improve on, what your qualities are, what your skills are. And, you know, it may be, you know, just the basic things, your strengths and weaknesses, but we identified that. We then went on to look at personal development plan. And this looks at self-reflection and looking at what you can improve on to help yourself. So also we looked at an example of a self-reflection plan and how to, you know, identify certain elements of it and why it's so important within your teaching profession and why there's a need for this. And some references. So we've done a quick overview of learning outcome 1, 2, and 3 quite quickly. We're going to go through onto the assignment now. Okay, so Raman did send you a sample assignment. Did you get that?
Yes.
Yes, excellent.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the word limit on the assignment I did say is, was it a maximum of 3,500? I did say, didn't I think?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was, yeah. So the assignment you should have is the one that I've prepared for you to kind of look at in regards to following the learning outcomes, which we'll go through in a little while. Let me just pull this one up. So can you see this one?
Yep.
So the assignment. Okay, so
Yep.
the first bit of it. So make sure you're using Harvard referencing when you're doing your assignment. Make sure you have the heading of your unit that you're doing. So you're doing the NCFE level 5, and the unit is equality and diversity. Make sure you have your heading, make sure you have your name, make sure you have what unit you're doing. Okay, so because it's quite clear, the person who's going to mark it needs to make sure that you understand what they are saying and how clear it is. Okay, so task 1 is to understand the key features of a culture which promotes equality and values diversity. So you have started a new job for a large charitable organisation called SED that deals with children from a variety of different backgrounds and children with special needs and disabilities. You have been asked to prepare a brief report outlining the following points. So the first one, and this would be your heading, okay? So make sure you are looking at it from the perspective that you are doing each element of each task with a heading. So you would put it as task 1, and then your heading would be define the meanings of equality and diversity in the UK context, AC 1.1. Okay, so that would be your heading. You could have a contents page as well. Okay, do you understand when I identify it as being your heading?
Yes.
Because what it is, some students tend to put task 1 and just put everything in it. Now, that is not making it clear for the person who's going to mark it. So if you've identified that you've done every element of it, then they won't come back to you and say, oh, Adrian, you've got this bit to do, you've got 1.2 to do, or you've got 2.1 to do. Make sure you clearly identify which one you're doing. Okay, so you need to do them all, but make sure you've got it as a heading. So the first one is define the meanings of equality and diversity within the UK context, which is AC 1.1. We've had a look at this in Learning Outcome 1, okay? Analyze the benefits of promoting equality and diversity for individual learners, which is AC 1.2, and define legislation, employment regulations, and codes of practice relevant to the promotion of equality and valuing diversity. That is all within Learning Outcome 1, AC 1.1, AC 1.2, and AC 1.3. Now, you know, you just don't need to put everything from the slides. You could, you know, use your own knowledge and also put other stuff in, but make sure you reference it using Harvard referencing. So it would be the author's name and the year of the book in text, and then later on you would use Harvard references. Has any of you used Neil's toolbox?
No.
Neil's toolbox, I'll show you Neil's toolbox, and it's really, really good. And it's like these, you know, you may have used like on-site stuff to try to can you see this now? Have I shared it?
Not yet.
Let me just, it's just that I've got to get off and share it again. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so it's here. This is Neil's toolbox, okay? And it's a lot of our students use this on whilst I'm doing on the degree course, and it's quite easy for them to use this because if you go down, you can see it now, yeah? It tells you how to reference everything. So it tells you how to reference a book, it tells you how to reference a chapter of a book, and it tells you how to reference emails, websites, things like that. So when you go into referencing a book, you'll go into, so the book title, let's put communication skills just as an example for you. So you've got, spelled wrong, Miller, G, the publisher, Peacock, place of publishing, London. Then the year of publication, maybe 2023, first edition, page 65. So if you go to generate reference, it does it there for you. Can you see that?
You can just copy and paste it over. Oh, that's brilliant.
Sorry?
That's brilliant. So you literally
it
just
does
copy
it,
and
but you
paste
know
it.
the good thing about it, Patricia, it puts all the dots and the commas in the right
Yeah,
place.
that's what I meant. And then it's even got the title in italics.
Yeah. So it's really good. I always recommend this to my students, and I would recommend it to the students at UK Varsity as well, because I think it's really good how they reference it there using the Harvard system.
Yeah,
There's all sorts of
I always get it wrong, so that's great.
And it's not just you. I've been teaching 17 years and I still get it wrong. So, you know, it's good for you to use because there's different generators out there. you know, but I think Neil's toolbox is quite easy for people to use, and it also looks at different things. So it just doesn't look at your books, it looks at your internet sites, and, you know, when you've accessed it, referencing a website, a magazine, a journal article. So it's quite clear there, and it'll give you the, you know, how to reference it, and then just cut and paste that into your referencing. Make sure when you're doing Harvard referencing that it needs to be in chronological order as well when you reference things. Are you okay with the referencing? Adrian, you okay with that? Yeah. Okay. Task 2. Understand the importance of promoting.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. Promoting
I am okay
equality
with
and
that.
valuing diversity in lifelong learning. So you've been asked by your manager, Josephine, to produce a leaflet outlining information about equality and diversity for staff within the organisation. You've asked to look at addressing mainly the following points. Firstly, reflecting on how the promotion of equality and diversity can protect learners from risk of harm. 2.1. Secondly, explain actions that can be taken to value individuals' learners, AC 2.2, and thirdly, explain good practice in providing individual learners with information, AC 2.3. Each one needs to be under a heading. So you need to identify task 1 and then 3 elements, identify task 2 and then 3 elements. This goes into learning outcome 2, 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. Then you go on to task 3. Here, you need to be able to promote equality and value diversity. You've been asked to produce a presentation to the managing director of the organisation about promoting equality and diversity. You need to concentrate on the following points. Use communication strategies to promote equality and diversity, ACU 3.1. Analyse how your own behaviour can impact on an organisation's culture in relation to equality and diversity, ACU 3.2. Explain how working with other external agencies can promote diversity, AC 3.3. That's, you know, maybe educational psychologists, speech therapists, things like that, what we've looked at. And that's learning outcome AC 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. Then in task 4, you need to understand how to help others in the promotion of equality and valuing of diversity. So your colleague at work needs help from the following in producing a report. You need to look at helping your colleague with producing a paper with the following task. You need to describe actions by individuals which can determine equality and diversity, which is AC 4.1. You need to recommend modifications to the system and structures which do not promote equality and diversity, and that's 4.2. And that's things like training, CPD, policies, procedures, codes of practice, and that's learning outcome 4, AC 4.1 and AC 4.2. Then the final one, which is task 5, is being able to review your own contribution to promoting equality and valuing diversity in lifelong learning. You need to reflect here on your own strengths in promoting equality and valuing diversity. And that would be looking at your personal development plan and your SWOT analysis as well. Okay, so you'll be looking at your own strengths and weaknesses and things like that. You'll also evaluate the impact of your own practice in promoting equality and diversity, AC 5.2, and identifying areas for personal development in promoting equality and diversity. And that could be AC 5.3, and that would be your personal development plan. So learning outcome 5, AC 5.1, AC 5.2, AC 5.3. Okay, so these would be looking at in regards to what you need to do for your assignment, okay? And it needs to look at the fact that you're using your reference skills. A lot of this is in your assignment, but you need in the learning plans. Sorry, a lot of this is in your PowerPoint slides. So you could kind of reflect on each point there, but elaborate it in more detail. The reason being is that, you know, you've got 3,500 words and you want to try and put in more examples. So when you're talking about like any sort of promoting equality and diversity, you need to be talking about, you know, any sort of examples you can give in your own, you know, your own organization where you're working, any sort of contribution you've given, any sort of ways that you've worked with, you know, different external organizations, and how you've, you know, promoted equality and diversity through communication strategies as well. Have you got any questions, anyone?
Can I just ask a really stupid one? What does
Yes,
AC
yeah.
mean? What does
No, it's not
AC mean?
AC is just the learning outcome. Okay,
Oh,
so don't worry
outcome.
about that. I'm just going to show you something else as well, which might help you a little bit more as well, which actually would be okay. So you have you got this as well? Can you see this? It says assignment front sheet.
No.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I can see
Sorry,
it.
I've done it again. So if you
Gone
have this
now.
assignment front sheet here, okay? So this
Oh, I've
assignment
got that. I printed that
Yeah,
off from
this is really
Moodle.
good, and I'll tell you why. This is so good because we have to mark to this guideline. So if you just put learning outcome 1, okay, and put 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, like we have done in the assignment,
His brother.
put them as headings.
And there's a bunch of cops in the back at this point.
Sorry?
Hello?
Sorry about that, Adrian. What did you say? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm
No, it's okay.
I'm just having to go get my daughter, so I'm having to multitask.
Oh, don't worry. I think we're used to it by now, Adrian.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I know.
No, don't worry.
I know.
I know the timing. Don't worry.
And
so
then as I connect the phone to the car, the radio, and I think you get like a few seconds of a radio show.
Excellent. So each learning outcome is followed with. So task 1 is learning outcome 1, task 2 is learning outcome 2, task 3 learning out. Each one has elements that you need to cover. You need to make sure that when you're doing number 1, 1.1, you need to have that as a heading and then right under it. 1.2, have that as a heading right under it. And 1.3, have that as a heading and write everything under it. And that would be the same for task 2, task 3, task 4, and task 5. And this will really help you. Okay, so this is what we mark on, and this would help you with an assessment criteria so you're able to understand. But literally what's here is on your assignment anyway. So that's what you need to cover.
Do you mark the assignment? I
do.
Okay.
I will be marking the assignment because I think I've taught you, so it would be most likely to be me.
Oh, that's good.
So because I've taught you and I've gone through everything with you, it's more likely to be me that would be marking the assignment. And
can I just check with you? Sorry, Shadia.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, so obviously we submit it.
Yeah.
Then how does it come back to us? Is it like pass, fail? How does it kind of work?
It'd be a pass or a fail on this.
Okay.
These are all pass. These all here are pass requirements, you know, each one. So if you, for example, I'll give you an example. Someone did an assignment and what they did, they put it all together, everything. They didn't make it clear what they'd done as 1.1 and put it as a heading, even though they'd done everything. They'd literally done everything. But if you don't make it clear as a heading what you're doing in each heading, then I will send it back to you and say, do it like this. Okay, I had to send it back to him, and it took him probably literally a day or something to put it all in the right order with the headings and stuff. But he'd done the content, so it was there. But the fact is that if you make it clear, it would. When you submit it, you would submit it with a contents page and a reference page at the end with all your sources that you've used and your Harvard referencing, and you would underline everything as a heading so that it makes sense to the person who's marking, the reader, that they understand that you've covered every element, because then we have to put in there whether you've achieved it or not achieved it.
And then how quickly are you able to
So
turn it
you
around?
have now this unit is finished. You've got 2 weeks to submit it. If you need extra time, you can speak to Raman or any of the administration at UK Varsity. And then I get it when you've submitted it on learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. You need to submit it on there, and then it will be sent to me, and then I'd mark it. And I probably take about a week anyway to mark it and then get back, and then it has to be moderated. So it's not a huge, it's not a huge process that it goes through, but if it's not to the standard, like I said, if everything is just mixed up all together, then it doesn't make it clear that you've covered every learning outcome.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So if you've covered
sorry, I was just going to ask, are we allowed, like, for example, if we can we send it to you in sort of parts rather than one whole?
No, I think what they want is in a whole document.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So have a contents page, have your heading page with all the unit name, your details and everything, and then start off with your assignment and do it as learning outcome 1, 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3, and clarify them as headings for each learning outcome, so you're able to say that you've covered it. Because if you miss out 1 or 2 of the points on the task, then you're not really going to pass then.
And what about if, like say, one of the units needs kind of further work, or like, say you've missed out, or
then I will tell you, it comes back to you, and I'll tell you that it's not been achieved, but it's most likely if you cover the elements and you've got 3,500 words, try to minimize your words against each one. So you've got 5 learning outcomes. Try to look at doing 600 words, maybe, well, not 600, 750 words, or maybe 700 words per task, something like that.
Per learning outcome.
Yeah, maybe minimize it like that and try to balance it out between your individual tasks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
This is this is the first time I've ever required a word count. Is that something new?
Oh, okay. No, we always, when I'm doing it at my institution, every assessment has a word count.
Okay.
Yeah, the level 6 dissertation is 9,000 words that they do, and then from year 1 they do 3,000, year 2 they do 4,000. So each institution has its different quality assurance that they have to go through, and they have a criteria that they must follow.
See, a word count.
That's fine.
See, a word count really helps me, because otherwise,
it helps me as well. Like we said,
I just write forever. Like, I'm terrible.
I think I would write forever, and I'd waffle so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
Yeah, I've got a tendency to do that. But I remember when I did my master's, my dissertation was 25,000 words. It was difficult. Even now to do, like I was telling you at the start, Patricia, even to do 1,000 words on self-reflection is so difficult. So hard. But I think this word limit does help you, and it guides you and supports you as well.
Oh, definitely for me, because
and it also clarifies how much you need to put in each part as well. It gives you kind of a bit of an idea of what to put in each part.
Can I count my the headings and the subheadings to the word count, or not?
I think you may be able to do that, Adrian. Yes.
Good. I mean, give me lots of headings then.
I think when it comes to us, we take out the bibliography in my institution, so we don't count that as a word count. So yeah.
Honestly.
But if you have any issues, you've got my email. Have you got any more questions, anyone?
No.
I think I'm okay. I just need to write them now.
If you've got any issues, you've got my email address, and it's been lovely teaching both of you, honestly. And I'll miss you on a Wednesday evening. I'll miss you both on a Wednesday evening.
What is that?
That's it now.
Are you not teaching us anything else?
No more Wednesdays.
No more Wednesdays. I don't know with me. with me, you're finished now. We've done the equality and diversity.
So you're not teaching us anything
All right.
else?
I don't know.
Oh, that's sad.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you've been really good.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I
thank you.
think this is so much better for me because I have another one on a Tuesday, and
Yeah.
it's just me and the tutor. But I really like this because obviously I'm learning from you both, and it's just nice to have that bit of interaction.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know,
Like
I
it's
don't know.
really
I don't
made
know
it
what the.
easier.
Yeah, I think it does, and it makes it a lot easier to interact with each other as well, and to bounce off each other. I like, where we bounce off each other with ideas because it helps.
Yeah, it
100%.
does.
And just
It's
sharing like
been
experiences and stuff and
Yeah,
examples of practice and stuff. It's been really helpful.
yeah.
So I don't feel stressed about the assignment till I start
You will
writing
be
it.
okay. I've totally 100% faith in both of you that you will be okay.
Aw.
You know what you're doing, and I just think if you get stuck, you just email me, and I'll try and help you as much as I can. But start on it when it's fresh in your head as well.
I already have.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, good for
I
you.
started on it last week.
No, excellent.
I'm
I'm so happy you have.
planning on spending my Easter doing it. Yippee.
Sorry
I've
if I
got
had to
another.
spoil your holiday, Adrian.
I've got another one on the
Fine.
go, so I've got to do this one and
Yeah, I know
wider
you've got your hands full.
Oh
wider
God.
professional practice. So
Yeah.
Mm.
No, but
yeah.
if you have any issues or anything, just email me.
Have you done that module, Adrian?
And again, it's been lovely teaching you, and I hope that I
Which
might have to.
Have you done the
Sorry,
wider
what's that?
professional practice unit, Adrian?
what number unit is that? I think I have.
Unit 4.
Yeah, I have done it.
Oh, that's the one that I'm not as confident on, so it'll be fine. I've got
Oh,
my
you'll
assignment
No,
due
you'll
next week.
be
I
fine.
think you will be okay. I just think that sometimes it's difficult for you, Patricia, the way I've known you for the last 6 weeks. So I think it's
I
sometimes difficult for you to reflect that you're doing
Yeah,
something
yeah.
really well. And I just
yeah,
think you need to try to not put yourself back a little bit, but put yourself forward, because the experience you have is excellent, and you
thank
Yeah.
both
you.
have so much experience, and that
I
skill is really important.
I've when I've done these assignments, that sheet that you mentioned that you marked from Shazia, that's the sheet I live and die by,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I've got
Good.
a
Yeah.
copy of that for
It's
both
so
assignments.
helpful.
Yeah.
It's so
They are.
helpful. And I think, it'll just help you, support you, but keep to that structure where you're using headings and you're using your Harvard referencing. That structure will help you throughout, even if you carry on at a different institution or do something else. It'll help you kind of have the same kind of skill as well.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's definitely. I've already got my headings on my Word
Excellent.
document ready,
Excellent.
so I just need to fill them with words now.
Yeah. Thank you. And if you
All right.
don't have any more questions, we've finished the session.
Thank you so much.
It's okay. Thank you.
you.
Yeah, and it was lovely meeting you both, and keep in touch.
You
You have
too.
my email address.
Yeah. Thanks,
Don't worry,
Shazia.
Shazia, I'll be speaking to you in 2 weeks' time when I need extra time. Okay. So
Me too.
yeah, we'll see you later.
Thanks, Shazia.
Yeah,
Bye, Adrian.
Take care, Shazia. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.